Mr. William Fambro, who's also a member of the Board of Trustees, who is really the reason that I became engaged in the city of East Cleveland to begin with. Mr. William Fambro, who's there, manning the camera, who's also the owner and operator of Legacy Communications, is the first person who informed me of an effort very similar to the effort that is afoot now. And that was an effort to have the library that we sit in right now, the East Cleveland Public Library, annexed by the Cuyahoga County Library System. So this is my initial engagement in the city of East Cleveland. When I was told by William Fambro that this effort was afoot, I had no knowledge of the fiscal situation of the library system. I had no knowledge of how trustees became trustees. But I had an understanding that every time that I am aware of when communities that were predominantly black lost control or even a bit of control over institutions within their community, that they were always the losers, that they were never the beneficiaries, that this would happen again. So I was intent not upon deciding whether or not, even before I was able to gain the information that we subsequently gained, to wage a campaign and win that campaign to keep our library system independent. I was disposed to fight for it anyway, whatever the consequences and whatever the cost. So we were able to do that. Now this is relevant to this situation. It's very relevant to fight for our library system because we saw the same sorts of things and we heard the same sorts of arguments that we are hearing now. We were told at the time that our library was in debt, massive debt. And there had been a massive debt situation at the library. That was not a false thing that happened. We were told that the revenue situation in the city of East Cleveland was bad and would get worse, that there would be declining revenues, and to an extent that there were declining revenues. And we were told that because of these things, the library system by the year 2012, if you tried to keep it independent, by the end of that year we would be $800,000 in the red and unable to even open our doors in 2013. So they didn't even project what our debt would be. This was the supposed extras under best case scenarios. We were, however, able to keep our library system independent. Myself, William Fambro, and others held forums such as this, forums in churches. We went to every single school board meeting to the point to where I'm sure they got tired of hearing us. But we went to every school board meeting and we made the argument for independence, and we said that not only can this system remain independent in spite of the budgetary concerns, but this can become a model institution, that this can be an institution that reflects the highest aspirations of black people. And it has. Now, not only were we able to remain independent through 2013, we entered in 2015 in spite of the cuts, in spite of not having received a single dollar in grant funding. And in spite of declining revenues, not only did we not close for 2013 or 2014, we entered into 2015 with approximately $1 million surplus. And that's not under ideal circumstances. As many in this community know, we had a great number of challenges. We had a complete vacancy on the Board of Trustees. The previous Board of Trustees resigned en masse. So those of us who fought to keep the library independent, we were intending to come upon the board if that opportunity arose, but with some degree of tutelage, in effect, from the remaining members who were senior. They all left. So we were a membership with no senior leadership, in effect. We were people running the Board of Trustees, all 7 members, replaced within 1 year. We had a lot of internal turmoil. Lots of money was wasted as a consequence of that turmoil. But in spite of that turmoil, we were able to move forward. And then there are other things that are important that aren't just the financial things. If we look on that stage there, the left-hand side of the stage, we see the Pan-African flag designed by Martin Garvey. That we start every library board meeting by standing the board members and the audience facing that flag and singing the Black National Anthem. And that is how we start every single meeting of the Board of Trustees. Now, tell me a city where that happens in America besides East Cleveland. When you go to the school board meeting, you see the same flag. Tell me a city where that happens besides East Cleveland. Now, there are other reasons to remain independent. And for me, it's not a question of weighing options. For me, independence is the honorable solution. To me, there are difficulties that we should not gloss over. We will be facing challenges, but one of the challenges that I think we need to mention that's relevant for these times, where we look at what's going on in Baltimore now, what has happened in Ferguson, and what happened down the street here in East Cleveland, where 62, people talk about this one officer facing charges. One officer of 13 who drove into, and really not of 13, one of 62 officers who drove through our city, disregarding their own law and ours, disregarding the safety of our black residents, and then drove into our middle school parking lot and fired 137 shots at 2 unarmed and defenseless people. Do you want that police to be your police force? Do we want those officers, the other 12 of that 13 who are not on trial now, to be patrolling our streets? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We mentioned the fact that we have our own judge, Judge Dawson. But the judge is not only an intelligent person who believes in restorative justice, he's a young black